Some crimes are terrifying because of what happened. Others are terrifying because of where they happened. This is one of those cases. Not on a deserted street, not in a stranger's house, but inside a neonatal unit, the one place where parents believe their smallest, most fragile babies should be safest. In August 2023, former neonatal nurse Lucy Letby was found guilty of murdering 7 babies and attempting to murder 7 others at the Countess of Chester Hospital. The crimes dated back to 2015 and 2016, and what makes this case so disturbing is not just the verdicts. It is the idea that the danger may have been standing right beside the incubators all along. At first, nothing looked like serial murder. What staff saw were medical emergencies, sudden collapses, unexplained drops in oxygen, babies who appeared stable and then declined with shocking speed. In neonatal care, that kind of instability is part of the nightmare. These babies are already fighting for survival. But after a while, doctors began to notice something they could not ignore: an unusual cluster of deaths and collapses, and one name that kept appearing on the rota again and again. That is what turned fear into suspicion. The prosecution did not describe a masked intruder or someone sneaking through hospital corridors. They said the threat was already inside the ward, wearing a uniform, speaking calmly to parents, and moving through the unit as if everything were normal. Prosecutors alleged that Letby harmed babies in different ways, including injecting air or insulin and overfeeding milk. They argued these were not tragic medical events, but deliberate attacks hidden inside ordinary hospital chaos. And that is what makes this story feel almost unbearable. A hospital neonatal unit is built on trust. Parents hand over their babies because they have no other choice. They stand beside incubators, watching monitors, listening to alarms, praying for tiny signs of improvement. In that world, trust is not optional, it is everything. So when the person accused of causing harm is also the person meant to care for the child, the horror becomes something deeper than fear. Lucy Letby did not look like the public image of a killer. She was described as quiet, ordinary, unremarkable. And maybe that is one of the most frightening parts of all. The scariest true crime cases are often not the ones with obvious monsters. They are the ones where the danger looks normal, calm, familiar, until it is too late. As concerns grew, senior doctors raised warnings more than once, but those warnings were not acted on decisively enough. That failure became its own dark chapter in the story, because this case is not only about what the jury said one nurse did, it's also about how long the warning signs were missed, dismissed, or delayed while vulnerable babies remained in that unit. Then the investigation began. Police reviewed medical records, blood results, shift patterns, and timelines. What had once looked like separate tragedies began to form a pattern. In court, the babies were identified only by letters: baby A, baby B, baby C. A cold, haunting reminder that behind the legal process were families whose lives had been shattered forever. One of the most chilling parts of the trial was the argument that some babies collapsed in ways experienced doctors found deeply unusual. The jury heard about sudden deteriorations, unexplained insulin findings in 2 infants, and symptoms prosecutors said were consistent with air being introduced into the bloodstream or stomach. The courtroom became a battleground over medicine itself, what could be explained by illness and prematurity, and what, according to the prosecution, could only be explained by intent. The case grew even darker when investigators found handwritten notes at Letby's home. One of them included the words, "I am evil, I did this." Those 6 words became some of the most haunting details in the entire case. The defense argued the notes reflected mental distress, not guilt, and Letby denied harming any baby. But in the public imagination, those words landed like a confession. When the verdicts came on 18 August 2023, the scale of the case shocked the country. Letby was convicted of murdering 7 babies and attempting to murder 7 others. She was acquitted on some counts, and jurors were unable to reach verdicts on several others. Days later, she was sentenced to whole life orders, meaning she would never be released from prison. But even that was not the end. In July 2024, after a retrial on one unresolved allegation, Letby was found guilty of attempting to murder another baby known publicly as Child K. she received an additional whole-life order, while wider questions continued to grow about hospital accountability, ignored warnings, and how long this could have gone on before anyone stopped it. That is why this case still grips people so tightly, because it's not just a story about murder, it's a story about trust, power, silence, delay, and the collapse of safety in the one place that should have felt untouchable. Strip away the headlines, the court arguments, the legal language, and what remains is almost impossible to process. A neonatal unit is supposed to be a place of fragile hope. Parents go there praying for survival, for one more stable hour, for one small miracle. And according to the verdicts in this case, that hope was betrayed from within. That is why the Lucy Letby case continues to haunt so many people, because it did not turn a dangerous place into a crime scene. It turned a place of protection into something terrifying.